Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Bernie Uche, and once again, I'm in a tech state of mind. And I'm back with episode 2 of The Tea, where we recap the latest tech news, some of it from last week, some of it from early in this week, and I just give you my take on those topics. And today we've got 3 really exciting things to talk about. The first is Amazon's new approach to human jobs in an AI-driven world. The second, which I think is particularly impactful to me as a father of 2 young boys, is Google's controversial move to introduce its Gemini AI chatbot to children under 13, and a significant shift in U.S. China trade relations. Breaking news, I guess, as of the time of recording anyway, that affects the tech industry, where the U.S. and China have scaled back the tariffs and counter tariffs. So let's talk about it. Let's get started. Story number 1. This article, I picked this up comes from TechCrunch. I love TechCrunch. Been reading them for years and years and years now. Written by Julie Bort. And the headline here is Amazon offers peek at new human jobs in an AI bot world. Now, last week we talked about the impact of AI on jobs, on unemployment, and in combination with the tariffs was that story, but there was that part of it that had to do with AI. And we've all heard the rumors, we've all discussed it around the table. What is AI going to do for us and for jobs? And you have people like Sam Altman talking about UBI, universal basic income, in order to support people who are displaced and just support the population in general, because AI is going to do most things. Amazon is looking at this right now, and what they're saying in their warehouses is that human beings will no longer have to do all this back-breaking work that causes them issues. So, according to the article, Amazon is reimagining the future of work in its warehouses with the introduction of Vulcan. Now, I know I could just use ChatGPT and then edit this in and tell you that I'm very sure that Vulcan is an alien race from Star Trek. Now, I believe that's the case, but I don't remember. Honestly, I am more into Star Wars than I ever was into Star Trek, but I have this memory. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I think that's what Vulcan is. But let me know in the comments anyway. But it says a robot capable of handling tasks like retrieving items from high and low shelves. So again, the idea here is that you as a human don't have to reach so high and maybe stretch and hurt yourself trying to get one of these boxes for customers at a really, really high level. But you also don't have to bend over really low to do the same thing. I in particular am more worried about the bending over to pick some stuff up. Now, if you know better, you're supposed to go down with your knees and then pick stuff up. A lot of people go over with their back, which I've done way too many times, and I have the back pain to prove it. So I understand the idea here. But this will mean that a lot of people will be displaced from their jobs. But what does Andy Jassy say about this? He says, Vulcan is helping make work safer by handling ergonomically challenging tasks while creating opportunities for our teammates to grow their skills in robotics maintenance. So let's not gloss over that. What he's saying is robots will do the bulk of the really physically ergonomically challenging work. A lot of work that men and women have found pride in over the decades. And now you will have the opportunity to be retrained in robotics maintenance. So being a robot technician, making sure that the robot can do what it needs to do, keep the lights on, keep it running effectively. Now, if you break this down, you're not going to need that many people to do that. You might need 1 or 2. And maybe I'm making this up. But you're not going to need that many people. The way the technology is now, machines are more robust than they were in the past. So the amount of maintenance that you're going to need for this robot is not going to be actually that much. This is how they're going to design it. So you're going to have people that are going to do analytics, observability, and break fix when needed, which should not be needed all that much. So you're still going to lose a lot of people. It's not as if it's going to be a one-to-one. Every job lost, everyone becomes technician. That's just not going to happen. And maybe it shouldn't happen. But this is something to keep in mind. And Amazon suggests that they're actually piloting this right now. Vulcan is available in certain warehouses right now. And they're working out the kinks to see how they can scale this out in the long term. So let's see how this goes. There is, I mean, if you've seen any of the Boston Dynamics robots, and if it's anything like those things, then yes, these robots are going to be able to do incredible things. It's also scary if you've ever watched the Terminator movies, to think that you're going to have these super soldier robots that can do all this stuff that humans cannot do. That's a little bit scary. But maybe there is something in the fact that human beings will be monitoring and observing these things and be responsible for maintenance and not have a situation where the robots can fix themselves, right? Which is movie type of stuff, right? But this is both exciting and concerning at the same time. Let's see how this goes. So story number 2, this was actually published May 8th last week. I wanted to talk about it last week, but I didn't get a chance to. And this article is pulled from The Conversation, and this is particularly concerning to me. The headline here is, Google is rolling out its Gemini AI chatbot to kids under 13. It's a risky move. That last line, it's a risky move. Just on the headline alone, I agree. And this is written by Lisa M. Given. Lisa, I agree with you. It's a risky move. I'm not even a huge fan of my kids having my phone in their hand at all, knowing what I know about technology. At least right now, my kids are 5 and 3. Of course, they're talking about under the age of 13, so probably kids between 10 and 13 are the ones who are going to be using this the most. I'm still looking at the trajectory of my kids, and I'm still nervous about this. But let's see what the article actually says. So while the launch starts within the next week in the United States and Canada, where I live, oh my goodness, the chatbot will only be available to people via Google's Family Link accounts. Okay, great. Let's look at this a little bit more. So Google's Family Link accounts allow parents to control access to content and apps such as YouTube. To create a child's account, parents provide personal details, including the child's name and date of birth. Now, Lisa says this may raise privacy concerns for parents concerned about data breaches. If you're aware that Google is about to pay the state of Texas, I believe, $1.5 billion for data privacy breaches, effectively using consumer data without their knowledge, this would be a concern for you. Okay? I'm not saying anything else about that. I'm just saying it's a fact that this would be a concern. Okay? Now, they're saying chatbot access will be on by default, so parents need to actively turn the feature off to restrict access. I typically don't like access on by default when it comes to technology like this, because parents who either don't know, which is the majority of folks, are just going to have this access on, or you just have to remember to do this. I'd rather it be off and you prompt me to turn it on. I understand as a business, this is not something that they want to do. They want to make sure that this can get out there into the wild and people can test it and get it data and get that feedback to improve it and make it much more usable over time. I totally understand all of that. However, I just still prefer access off by default, and you ask me if I want it on. This is not the same context, but a great example I like is, and by the way, Siri is still not all that great, but if I ask Siri a question and Siri can't answer that question, Siri asks me if I want to go to ChatGPT for the answer. It doesn't just go to ChatGPT. Siri asks me if I want to. So that's now my call, right? And in this case, it's still your call because yes, you can go and turn the feature off. I still prefer having it off by default, and then you ask me if I should turn this on. So Again, experts are questioning the implications for children's privacy, as I just said, data security, and the potential for exposure to inappropriate content, which we know happened with ChatGPT, OpenAI, I think 2 weeks ago, where kids were being exposed to completely inappropriate content. They apologize and they say they rolled out a fix, which I haven't tested, but they said that they did that. The debate centers on whether or not the benefits of early AI introduction outweigh the risks, especially when it comes to shaping young minds. Now, again, I think that schools need to teach children responsible usage of AI. I think schools need to update their curriculum to integrate AI into them. But I think that the app economy is not necessarily the place to test and experiment with kids. But that's my opinion. That's the report that I saw, and I just wanted to bring it up as part of the news. Okay, so story number 3, breaking today. But there were rumblings about this over the course of last week and the weekend, where it really intensified. I'm reading an article from PC World, written by Michael Kreider. You can find this story anywhere. CNN, Fox, whatever. You can find this story anywhere. So the U.S. has reduced China tariffs from 145% to 30%. China has reduced tariffs from their counter tariffs from 125% down to 10%. And Michael says here in the subheadline that American businesses can breathe a sigh of relief as import taxes are set at a less ridiculous rate for at least 90 days, because this measure is effectively a stopgap to get the countries to continue negotiating and reach a true deal. So this has a particular implication for companies who manufacture their products in China, where a lot of the raw materials are put together. Apple was talking about having to significantly raise the price of iPhones due to the components in the iPhone, most of them being assembled in China. In fact, they were talking about they could take a potential $900 million hit due to these tariffs. So this should alleviate a little bit those concerns. The article says that paying a 30% import tax on goods is still a huge burden on American businesses that rely on low-cost manufacturing from China, but it's at least manageable for most, which is the case. Now, there used to be an exception for goods and services that were under $800. So if you were ordering, memory, or ordering storage, or ordering, some gadget here or there that would be shipped from China under $800, you were exempt from the tariffs. That doesn't exist anymore. The tariffs cover those things. But in the course of this trade war, there were some exemptions made for smartphones and PCs and other things like that. But it still had a very big impact on the electronics industry and supply chains, which would just make things more expensive anyway. So the situation was chaotic and continues to be chaotic, just less so. But hopefully now there's light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully now those manufacturers and importers can start to actually properly plan, right? Because if you don't know what the cost of your goods are going to be from one day to the next, one day the tariffs were 50%, and 75, and 100, and 125. It got kind of crazy. If you can't plan, you don't know how much to order, you don't know when to order, you don't know how you're going to satisfy your customers, right? So it's really important that this gets to a point of normalcy so that people can plan and their businesses can just get a break from the chaos. And I think, and I hope that that's coming. So that's the tea for this week. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy just me sifting through the news, giving you the headlines, a little summary, but also my take on things. Let me know what you think about Amazon's Vulcan Robots. Let me know what you think about Gemini being introduced to kids under the age of 13. And where do you think this trade war is going to go? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Thank you once again. If you like this video, please leave a like. That's the thumbs up button there. Drop me a comment again. Let me know about Vulcan, if I got that right. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel. I can't wait to bring you more content. Have a great week. Peace.
They wanna dunk on us in the pep night, yeah, take on my